Welcome, everyone. We do have a couple of presentations today, and let's start off with the first presentation before we go with the agenda. And I think we will have a presentation from Mr. Barbosa from the Assistant Attorney General in charge in the New York Attorney General's office, and Mr. Darrell White from Community Outreach. Are they here?
Yes, we're here. Michael Barbosa, how are you?
Okay, yes, sir. You can go ahead on. Sorry.
Okay, well, let me just share. Okay, so again, thank you so much. In the interest of time, I'll try to go through as quickly as possible. It is an honor to be here on behalf of our great Attorney General, Letitia James. I'm the Assistant Attorney General in charge of the Brooklyn Regional Office. Also at the meeting is our Community Outreach Liaison, Darrell White. And we were just here today because we wanted to just talk about some of our Brooklyn and regional office initiatives that we're doing, because we're currently still in the pandemic, and just talk, real briefly about the Attorney General's office and some of the other initiatives that we do that you really don't hear about in the news. So as everyone knows, our AG is our people. She's always been the people's lawyer, but she's the people's lawyer on behalf of the entire state of New York. Our Brooklyn regional office is one of 13 offices throughout New York State, and we cover both Kings County and also Queens County region. And the cases that we do involve civil rights, civil and consumer rights, defending labor laws, environment, investors. We also defend the state for violations, and we prosecute as well. Our authority comes from primarily civil authority under Executive Law 6312, which authorizes us, and I just wanted to say, we investigate and we prosecute repeated fraud and illegal acts in the carrying on of business, which is very broad. And it could be any violation, any state, local, or federal law. And most of our work is investigations where we have subpoena power to obtain documents and testimony under oath, and there are always confidential investigations. And we also file lawsuits. We have limited criminal jurisdiction, but we work very, very closely with the district attorney's office throughout the state. So DA Gonzalez, DA Katz, and we get referrals from other government state agencies. And most of our cases, the criminal ones involve Medicaid fraud, which we have primary jurisdiction over, or tax violations, and organized crime task force cases. Most of the relief we do is always to try to, stop the behavior, investigate the behavior, provide restitution to consumers, and issue, criminal convictions if necessary. So our website, I just want to go quickly, is www.ag.ny.gov. And Darrell White and other members of our team, we do a variety of community outreach presentations geared towards seniors. So our Smart Senior presentation, internet safety, deed fraud, and just basically publicizing all of our other litigation and consent decrees and other things that we do on behalf of the state. So our protecting our community, we have these virtual appointments now because everything is virtual. We've been working every day, 9 to 5, like everyone else, or longer, but no one is physically allowed to come into office. But we also have these virtual appointments. They're virtual walk-in appointments where individuals can call our line and also set up individual one-on-one appointments. And the next ones that we just had one yesterday, February 9th. Our next one is on February 23rd, March 9th, and March 23rd, and they're between 9 and 1. You can always call our office or call our 1-800 line, but we wanted to carve out these times specifically for other types of issues that the community wants to let the Attorney General's office know. Some of the recent ones that we're looking at is, of course, COVID-19 scams, stimulus check scams, vaccination fraud issues, scams specifically that always target the elderly who are just so vulnerable. Identity theft, credit card, debit fraud, immigration fraud. In light of new administration, there's been, I guess, a spike in individuals from, telling people like, okay, now you're, we can help expedite your citizenship. And also, housing and employment rights in light of the rise in, individuals having, with the eviction moratorium and just information about that. So this is what our presentations look like. We also have publications that we can send to the board to provide, and also electronic copies. Just, quickly, just nationally, we only received like 1 complaint out of 25 for abuse against the elderly. And I think it's even worse in Brooklyn. So we always encourage people to contact our office either via phone or via email or any way possible so that we can continually to investigate. And then it's always the normal types of scams, the grandparent scams, the fake check scams, and just inundation of different information. So we also provide, the websites to try to protect yourself with the do not call list, do not registry, opt out of mail, all of those different types of things that are just important to inform, your constituents about. And then internet safety. So just reiterate how to protect yourself with your driver's licenses and birth certificate, social security, passwords, those types of things. It's really, especially in light of how much we're using technology and the way that these scams come about, it's so easy to fall victim to these types of scams. So here's our, we also provide, the annual credit report in these publications, so you can get a copy. I'm trying to figure out, sorry, I don't know what just happened to my screen.
Mr. Barbara, stop sharing screen.
Oh, I stopped sharing screen. Apologize about that. Let me reshare. Okay. Sorry for the technical today, but just go quickly. We work very closely with the federal government as well with these identity theft claims. This is the website to the FTC, 1-877-438-4338. And then one of the things that we always find is when people are victims of scams, they might cancel their credit card, they might do an alert, but they don't fill out identity theft report. So, you file a police report, but you also fill out an identity theft investigation and also contact the FTC, because we do these investigations that sometimes they take years, but we are continuing to work on them. And just to talk a little bit about the tenant rights, moratorium, the eviction moratorium. So all of our sessions are talking about these types of issues, and we want to hear from your constituents. Immigration service fraud, as I said, I'm just going to go through. And of course, deed theft. Deed theft is a huge problem, and we're continuing to investigate. The Attorney General, this is a big issue of concern for her, particularly in Brooklyn and in Queens and other areas throughout the state. So continue to send us these complaints so that we can continue to investigate. Source of income discrimination. In light of the increase in homelessness, there's many individuals that live in homeless shelters, families, and the New York State, we passed a law that just strengthened source of income discrimination based on vouchers. And so we're also looking to hear about more complaints of a pattern of practice by landlords about these types of problems. And charitable giving. I mean, the Attorney General's office, we regulate all charities, and it's important to know your charity. Our website is www.charitiesnewyorkstate.com. And on this website, you can check to see if the charity is registered with the Attorney General's office. If it's not registered, that gives you a red flag that something is wrong. And so it's just important. And then here's our 1-800 number, 1-800-771-7755, and our website. So I'm open to any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Barboza. And we'll take questions from board members first. Okay, Mr. Scala.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Barboza, for joining us this evening. I just had a question pertaining to our community in general. Can you just give us an idea of the current cases you're investigating in our particular community? Can you highlight some of those that maybe we not be aware of? And also, my second part is on identity theft. How successful have you been as far as percentage-wise or whatever? Has that been, or have you been having trouble, finishing those investigations? Thank you.
Sure. So all of our investigations are continuing. I mean, there's just a slew of information, but just to give you a gist of some of the cases that we have done, we've done a number of deed theft investigations, concerning, fraudulent filings of documents. And we recently had some settlements involving immigration fraud, and car dealerships recently, involving limited English proficient consumers who, receive, different terms when they purchase and lease vehicles. So those are just some of the recent settlements, and we just continue.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other questions from board members? Ms. Ali?
Yeah. In terms of the deed fraud type of work you do, because I know the Brooklyn DA's office does a lot of any DA's office, but are you managing the same cases, or do you deal with it separately?
We work on it together because we have limited criminal jurisdiction. We give most of the referrals that rise to criminal conduct to the DA's office, and then certain cases that are both have a civil aspect of violations, but also criminal. We work very closely. So it's definitely working in conjunction with the criminal defense. Because there's so many. It's like a drop in a bucket. I mean, there's too many cases for all. Even if we had an entire unit that would handle these.
It's frightening to hear you say there's too many.
Yeah, well, that's why our outreach is so important, just to talk about the different tips in terms of how to protect yourself and receive alerts, and with the New York City Registry, and talk about the importance of having wills, because many of the different cases that come to us are years later. So that's why it's important to know, and that's the thing. The Attorney General's office, we have jurisdiction to go back up to 3 years or up to 6 years, depending upon the types of issues. So that's, as soon as you hear about, different fraudsters or different things you might see, or you'll notice, homes that are vacant and all of a sudden individuals are working on them, it's important to send any tips to the community.
I have a question for the AG.
Yes, sir. Who is that?
It's Victor.
Victor? Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Victor.
I'm wondering, how come the AG didn't stop the merge between Sprint and T-Mobile? And I'm wondering also if Verizon is going to try to do the same thing with AT&T.
I'm not familiar with that case you're talking about. Is an existing litigation? So as the Attorney General, we look at pattern or practices of fraud or violations of different laws. So we do have an investor protection bureau. So that would be more directed to that bureau. On our website, we have a www.ag.ny.gov. In there's different sections that can show you. There's so much that's going on, and is a slew of information for you to learn of some of the initiatives.
Okay, I'll take a look at it.
Okay, thank you, Victor. Now, I can't really see everybody on the screen. Any of the board members have a question?
Mr. Jordan, Brandon Smith has a hand raised.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, Mr. Smith.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jordan, and thank you, Mr. Barbosa, and really commendations on the really excellent work that your office is doing. It sounds like there's a lot of important stuff that you are focusing on. I just had a question about real estate condominium sales and the extent that your office is involved in reviewing these sales, not related to fraud or anyone raising a complaint to you, but just as a pattern of a regular basis. There have been a few developers where I've asked the question about cash-based real estate transactions, where there's the developers engage in any investigation to determine where the people got their money from to purchase these really expensive apartments. And some of them have indicated that they rely on the reviews done by the Attorney General's office. I was just wondering if you had any sense as to what reviews were taking place there on a regular basis, aside from the fraud investigations that you do.
Well, that sounds like our real estate finance bureau, and they investigate condos and co-ops, and you have to make an application and put forth the reasons for those types of transactions. So if you look on our website and check Real Estate Finance Bureau, and also in terms of any type of settlements and decisions that can definitely help shed light on things. And again, if there's any types of tips or complaints or just different things that you've learned, and sometimes they can be confidential too. It could be anonymous tips. I mean, sometimes with certain anonymous tips that we receive, it definitely opens up the possibilities, and it is confidential. So we're not going to tell you whether or not we're going to act on that information at that time. But I can assure you that any information that's sent to the Attorney General's office is thoroughly reviewed.
Would you say it's fair to say that that bureau acts upon complaints that are raised to it, rather than they don't review every single condominium sale or try to find out where every purchaser of a condominium got their money from?
Yeah, I would refer to them to see what their investigative reach is. I know particularly their primary focus is when there are condo and co-op conversions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other?
Welcome.
So Jordan, do you hear me?
Yeah.
This is Du.
Mr.
John
Du? Yes,
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Du.
Mr. Barbosa, I don't know if you're aware that Council Member Tish James got her start here in Clinton Hill, and we appreciated her. Over 2 decades ago, she took the place of James Davis after he was assassinated at City Hall. And she has appointed many of the folks that are on this telephone call to the community board. So if you can reach out to her and tell her we still appreciate all of her good work, we would appreciate that. Also, I wanted to ask about the Section 8 vouchers. I hear lots of folk complaining that landlords will not accept their Section 8 vouchers. How should they proceed?
So on our website, we have a Section 8, a source of income complaint form. We encourage, anyone to send complaint forms, in terms of any type of, rejections based on their Section 8 vouchers to our office to investigate.
Thank you so much, and please give our regards to the council member turned Attorney General.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I absolutely will.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Du. Now, I can't see the whole screen, so I'm going to take a few more questions and maybe a couple of questions from the public. All right, Doreen.
Hi,
Yeah,
thank you, Leonard and Mr. Barbosa. Thank you for visiting with us. Your office has been doing an amazing job. I guess my concern is I get your information. Our community board does a really great job of accessing information to the public. But what about a lot of this stuff is so relevant to everyone, and what is done the general public that isn't connected to their community board. How do you access this important information to those people? Is there a process or an outreach, or is it up to our community boards to be doing that?
So I think primarily is our website, because it's constantly updated and it's archived, so they have information in terms of prior settlements, and it's broken up into different categories. And again, we have our community outreach liaison throughout the state that attend either community board meetings or other types of meetings with our trusted partners as well, and our intergov that works with elected officials. So I mean, it's not perfect, of course, because there's always a slew of information, but that's what we try to do. But pretty much our website has so much information on it, and you can print it out, or you can we can mail you copies of publicly available information.
Thanks.
Welcome.
okay, thank you. I tell you, I just want to ask you a question. Is there any way I could see all the hands, that if people raise their hand electronically, that I could see them?
Unfortunately, there isn't, but you can scroll the
Okay,
grid
all
of
right.
screens.
I'm going to take, we have another presentation, so for the sake of time, I'm going to take one more question. And if anybody, okay, I don't see anybody on that page.
I don't see any other hands.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate your help.
Actually, I had my hand raised. Bill Floyd.
Okay, Bill, sorry. I'm strolling all the way through. Sorry about that.
No problem. Mr. Barbosa, thank you very much. I was curious, if I suspect someone of money laundering, this is basically piggybacking up from Mr. Smith's comment, what do I do about as far as reporting this or requesting aid on this?
So on our website, we have an access to complaint form, and it has different categories that you can, submit either an anonymous tip or actual complaint in that way.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Flanoy. So in the interest of time, we have a second presentation. So I think we're going to go on. Thank you, Mr. Barbosa, for that information. Thank you for coming, and feel free to come back. If you have any more information for us, we'd be glad to hear it.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next presentation that we have on board is going to be from Wegmans. We have Mr. Kevin Cuff, the store manager, Ms. Randy Jackson, the service manager, and Mr. Chris Mickens, our merchandise manager. Are you folks ready? Mr. Cuff? Ms. Johnson?
I think she has to unmute.
Okay, could you unmute yourself? Wegmans? Do you see them, Taya?
I do.
They're right underneath there.
Can you hear us?
Please,
Yes,
Okay.
now we
we
can.
can hear you now.
We can hear you.
Okay. I'm sorry. We use Teams here, so we're very unfamiliar with Webex. We did have a PowerPoint that we'd like to share. It looks like I can access it via screen sharing. Give me 1 second. I'm so sorry. Here we go.
Okay, it's starting to load.
See the
Perfect.
PowerPoint?
Yes, we can. If you go ahead and enter presentation mode so it fills the screen, you'll be all set.
Okay. Am I in presentation mode? I'm sorry. Let's see. Stop sharing? No.
Oh,
Can
no,
you
go
see the
back.
screen now?
No, you
Okay.
stopped sharing. Please go back to sharing that
Okay.
presentation. I think it'll be fine as it was.
Okay. Thank you. So that's here, share. Application window. Share.
Okay,
All right.
we can see it. Go ahead.
Okay. So my name is Randy Johnson. I'm the service manager here at Wegmans. And so myself, Kevin Cuff, our store manager, and Christopher Mickens, our former merchandising manager, current perishable manager, will be presenting just a little bit about Wegmans in our Brooklyn location, new to the community, and then all of the successes that we've had being new partners and new neighbors, and the appreciation we have for the partnerships that we have in the neighborhood. So we'll start with Kevin.
Thank you, everyone, for having us today. So really where I wanted to start off is to echo Randy's words and just say thank you. The reception from the community has been unbelievable, especially we're talking 3 or 4 years since we started this project. And I wanted to lead off our presentation with our biggest asset and the most important part of our business, which is our people. We came into this adventure hiring over 600 people for this store. And the majority of the people came from the zip codes that surrounded our neighborhood. And it was important to us, it's important to the Wegmans family that we hire from the community that we serve. And we continue to make that our #1 priority. And as Randy will go into our presentation towards the end, most of our outreach and our community involvement is with the zip codes that directly surround our community. It's very important to us. But one of the biggest pieces that I wanted to share today is just with our retention. The retail environment in the country, there's about 60% turnover. So 40% of the employees are actually retained. With Wegmans, we're in the single digits with turnover. So approximately 90%, and that rings true with this Brooklyn store. We made it very important that training and taking care of our people was our #1 priority, because we know if we take care of them first, they're going to take care of our customers, and our business will continue to grow. One other highlight is due to COVID and our protocols. One of the areas that were affected was how we run our business and how do we do it safely. And we had to change, and we're still trying to evolve and work through this, just like all of us that were speaking to each other through computer screens and phones. But it hit the grocery store employees pretty hard, and I'm probably sure that it hit all of us and all of you pretty hard. So we're ever evolving, and I'd like to really call our employees heroes. They came in and day out, and one of the pieces that came out of this is that it hit not only hit employees or our employees hard when it came to COVID, but there were many family members that lost their jobs. So one of our focuses this past spring and summer, we're hiring our employees' family members. We didn't need to. We didn't have the needs in our business, but we wanted to. It was the right thing to do. So we're happy to share that around 40 of our team members, family members, and referrals we added on to our staff. Again, because it's the right thing to do. So I can continue to keep talking just about our people. It's amazing. We found some amazing people. We've had 75 growth opportunities with them, and they've taken on special positions and got promoted. So it's just a really great time here, and I encourage you to do so. But just thank you again for the support. And now I'd like to introduce Chris Mickens. He's one of our managers, very recently promoted, doing a great job for us, and just an overall great person. So I'll give it to him, and he'll talk to you about our promise. Chris?
How's everybody doing today? All right. So a little bit about our promise here at Wegmans. we strongly believe in, number one, consistent low pricing. And what that means to us is, oftentimes you'll get your Sunday ads in the mail and you'll see the different promotions that different grocery stores are running. And you will never see a Wegmans ad in the paper, primarily because we believe in that consistent low price. And we believe in maintaining those prices throughout the entire week, where some of our other retailers will run a special sale on Sunday through Monday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they raise the prices just to recoup back from that sale. And the reason that we remain consistently low is that we understand that our families are budgeting for their groceries, they're budgeting for their lifestyles, and we want to make sure that those fluctuations and those prices aren't seen. And for the most part, majority of these consistent low prices, we end up eating the hit just to maintain that as a store. Another big thing that we really believe in is commitment to quality. So we believe in all of our shoppers, all of our employees who shop with us, to get the freshest, the most viable options that we carry. So we commit to that freshness. Oftentimes, a lot of our products are the due dates for expiration dates are a little bit out, and we will pull it before and donate it, just so we can commit that freshness to our customers, but also serve our community. Another huge thing that we drive is we have over 2,000 organic selections. So the reason that we love to pride ourselves on that is that we believe in everyone is very conscious of what they're putting in their bodies. We want to make sure that we are having options for everyone, and we want to make sure that this community has those same options that you'll find in any other community to shop organic or non-organic. And we actually have what we call Food You Feel Good About logo on all of our private labels, which is no GMOs, no artificial coloring, and no antibodies. So that's something that we really pride ourselves in. We want to make sure that we're offering the communities in which we're serving those different options for us. Another huge promise that we're having is up to 30% of our products are family pack. So what that means is you're not paying for a club membership that you'll find in Costco. You're seeing bulk items served to families, and you're getting that same special pricing without the $60 membership that you normally pay, just because we want to make sure that those offerings are around for our customers that don't have that option or, don't want to pursue that $60 membership. So we're thinking more about families and, bulk paper towels, bulk toilet paper, so that you're not doing multiple trips to the store. And there's just a few of those things that we look to enhance the area that we're in with. Another huge thing is cart comparisons. So you'll see on the screen that you have several cart comparisons with key foods and Stop and Shop. What we do with a cart comparison is that we take staple items such as milk, eggs, bread, rice, grains, and other staple items like cereal, and we will compare the pricing of those items at different stores to our cart. And we want to ensure that our cart prices are lower. We want to fight that misconception that Wegmans is an expensive place to shop. We have a lot of value here. We have a lot of great products for lower prices, and we want to make sure that the community knows that and that the community is being offered all those items at a lower price, because we understand, like, you got to live, you got to eat. So those are a few things that we push here at Wegmans. So we're going to always keep that promise to you with consistent low pricing, that great quality, huge organic selection, that family pack selection for those families who want it, and those huge cart comparisons, keeping our prices lower. I'm going to hand it back over to Randy. You guys have a wonderful night, all right?
Hi, Randy, this is Jessica. I just want to flag the time for you as you're wrapping up your presentation.
Okay, absolutely. So I just want to talk a little bit about community, and we do a lot with the community. We partner with the organizations around us. So last year we partnered with over 150 unique organizations, over 90 unique organizations for 150 different initiatives, mostly centered around food insecurity and healthy eating, healthy living initiatives, and supporting youth in healthy eating and healthy living initiatives. One of the things that we're most recently proud about is some of our COVID initiatives. So one thing that happened when COVID struck was a lot of the grocery stores kind of got ran on for sanitizers and hand wipes, and in response to that, there was a large shortage, but also lots of companies that don't normally produce those items started producing those items. So when Wegmans heard about the second wave, like everyone else, we decided to respond by purchasing some of those items that had been overproduced and donating it to our surrounding communities and public offices so that we could help make sure that the people who would need those products to help keep our communities and our team members safe and healthy would have those products in the community. So we often look at different ways to partner with organizations so that we can make a difference in the community and be as good of partners as we'd like to be with our neighbors. So I kind of slid through that really quickly. Hopefully, let's see, everything stopped working again. Let's see. There we go. So if you have any more questions for us or anything that we do at this organization, we'd be happy to answer them for you. We do want to thank you all for your support and inviting us. Sans all the technical difficulties, we apologize for that. But we definitely appreciate the support that the community has given us and partnering with our neighbors in all of our initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I have a
Mr.
question,
Cuff,
Mr. Chairman.
I didn't finish yet. I just said thank you so much, Mr. Cuff, Ms. Johnson, and Mr. Mickens. We're going to have a time for a few questions because we have a very aggressive agenda tonight. So, from the board, Mr. Scala.
Good evening, guys from Wegmans. Thank you for coming tonight. You're a great company, and I'm familiar with your company because I traveled basically upstate New York, and you were always the #1 store they all talked about. So I commend you for your great reputation. I do have a question. Have you considered maybe visiting the local schools and discussing healthy food, eating, and things like that to upgrade a local neighborhood? That was one thing. And also, I was wondering about the fact that since you are very successful here, we have areas in the city that are not served very well by national chains. And maybe as an idea to put in your head to talk to your management, that maybe Wegmans could look at our area in Brooklyn where people don't have the ability to get to Wegmans. Maybe you could expand in those areas. So that's something maybe you could answer in the future, but those are 2 questions I had. Thank you.
Thank you for those kind words. Yeah, we actually, one of the big initiatives prior to our store opening was getting into schools, and that's one of the main areas that we focused on. We went into between 14 and 16 schools in our area and touched over 1,200 students with our healthy eating initiative. We dressed up in fruit and veggie costumes and showed, and Randy's going to bring up a picture if you guys can see it. There are 4 of us and 5 of us dressed up in carrots and cucumbers and all that, and really was geared towards 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, just about healthier options. Not here you have to eat this, but here's an apple, here's salsa, here's how you make salsa, here's healthier choices that you can make whole grains. So it was a 45-minute presentation, but really our focus was the schools that directly were right around our neighborhood, and we did multiple classes within. So it was a really great opportunity for our employees to participate and really rewarding. So, and to answer your second question, I know New York City is close to the Wegmans family, so I know that they're continuing to look. So I don't have any answers for you on any movement right now, but hopefully in the future, fingers crossed.
Okay, thank you. All right, Ms. Peterson, and then Ms. Elavia.
Hi, good evening.
Okay, one second, Mr. Dew. I can't see everybody, so I'll get you afterwards. Ms. Peterson, Ms. Elavia, and then Mr. Dew. Okay,
thank you, Mr. Jordan. Good evening, everyone. I would be remiss if I did not make a comment about Wegmans. On behalf of not just the neighboring communities where many people were hired, Also on behalf of the Economic Development and the Employment Committee, for which I co-chair. Wegmans, I have to tell you, is really a tremendous and great partner to the community, and they have done so much that benefited the community that I cannot say enough about Wegmans, aside from the fact that I live in Wegmans. So I just wanted to say that, and I wanted to, you know, give a special thanks to Randy and Kevin and Chris with all the amazing partnerships and all of the things that you all continue to think about that the community need. The need is great, and you know, your employment. And then I can add on the Brooklyn Navy Yard, because when the word was out that it would be Wegmans, and the Brooklyn Navy Yard came out and sort of facilitated, you know, some hiring and making sure that people were informed about the opportunities that Wegmans was so gracious in extending to the community. And you should keep up the good work. And yes, you should open in other parts of Brooklyn. And I truly, truly appreciate everything that you do for the community. And I'm sure that my chairperson, Mr. Bill Flournoy, and my committee members would agree with that. Thank you so, so very much.
Thank you, Ms. Peterson. Ms. Zelagringer, and then Mr. Dew.
Mr. Jordan, I just want to flag that Ms. Quint has actually had her hand up in the raise hand function longer, and I just want to encourage everyone.
I'm sorry. Let me just.
No, that's fine. I just want to encourage everyone to please keep their comments brief so that we can wrap up by 8 tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thurston.
Thank you,
I'll get you,
Mr.
Ms. Quint. We'll get
Thank
to
you,
you.
Mr.
Okay.
Jordan. Thank you for being here in Brooklyn. I don't know of any other place that has been so excited about your coming. We were waiting and waiting, and it's wonderful that you're here and that you are such an important partner in the neighborhood. And I'm here asking you, I'm the chair of our Parks and Recreation Committee. I'm also the second vice chair of the Community Board. And we are, I'm sure you know Commodore Barry Park, which is across the street. And we're hoping that you might get involved with that park. And in particular, we have some events coming up working with Playground NYC, and they're looking for some large cardboard boxes. And we kind of thought you might have some. So Randy, if it's okay with you, can I reach out to you going forward, and maybe we could have a discussion, and I can introduce you to the head of Playgrounds NYC?
Absolutely. You can reach out to me or our store manager, Kevin. So I can give you, I don't know if you want to give me your email address, and then I can send you our contacts and we can go there, or.
Well, I assume Taya has your information, so I can follow up with Taya and we could connect that way.
Absolutely. We can absolutely see what we can do to collaborate with that project. And Commodore Barry is right across the street, so that's not a far trip for us at all.
I'm sure a lot of people buy food at Wegmans and they'll then go sit in the park and eat it. So, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Zelagringer. Then we have first Mr. Dew, Ms. Quint, Sam, and Latrell, and that's all we have time for.
I'll be very quick. I'll be very quick. I just want to acknowledge Wegmans, upon opening, partnered with the Myrtle Avenue Business Improvement District to fund fresh fruit and vegetables for our pantry, which has gone from 300 family meals a month to 3,000 family meals a month. Wegmans has been there for the entire time and continues to feed our hungry community of Fort Greene and the Atlantic Village public housing projects. Thank you, Wegmans.
Thank you, Mr. Dew. Ms. Quint.
Hi, I wanted to say thank you to Wegmans for everything that you're doing for the community. Such a great partnership. I live about 15 minutes walk away, and I do shop at Wegmans. for my family. I had a question with regards to social distancing, because it just doesn't feel to me like there's social distancing protocols in place in the store in terms of the number of people that are in there. There's no one-way aisles, and of course it is busy, popular, and crowded. I have been in when there's been people unmasked, even though I know there's signage, that says, and most people are masked. So I would just love to hear from you on social distancing protocols and thoughts on that. And I just also wanted to call to your attention just in terms of the grounds, and it's really the Navy Yard, but it sits outside. When I walk, occasionally I drive, which is like, that parking lot is a dream. But when I walk, the walk along Navy Street is very unkept. And I am working with Ethan at the Navy Yard to improve that. But just as it really is sort of the walkway into your store, I just wanted to put that on your radar, that it's really a bad situation with garbage there going in. But my main question is on social distancing.
Thank you. So we do work hard to enforce our social distancing plan, or our whole COVID plan in the store. We are allowed to be at 50% capacity. We do actually take count, and we let in 30 to 35% on capacity. I think that the carts also, like the actual shopping carts, also can make it feel more congested than what it may actually be. However, we do require the mask, the face and nose covering, and our managers do actively circulate. We offer free masks at the service desk. We have hand sanitizer and cart wipes at the door. We sanitize our carts. And so we do a lot of the measures. One of the things that we do have to call on our customers to help with is they have to stay apart from each other. So that can be challenging at times, but if you know Wegmans, you know that we always have management on staff here, and you can always let any team member know you're having an issue, and they can connect with someone who can help reinforce the protocols. But we try our best to protect our employees by having only a certain number of employees staffed in areas. Plexiglass, our employees go through wellness checks before every shift, which includes temperature checks, symptom questionnaires, travel questionnaires, and then we even added some more questions to make sure that we're asking them to take on responsibilities to act responsibly even when they're not at work, so that they can help maintain a healthy workforce. So it's been, COVID, has been a rash thing that we've all had to react to. We try to remind our customers to do, solo shopping, but as we all know, as things open back up, people get a little loose with restrictions. So we are trying our best, and anytime you see an issue, I implore you to reach out to any employee, and they know exactly who to get in contact with to help reinforce those standards. We are listening and trying our best to make sure that we can serve as many families as we can in the safest way possible, not just for our customers, but also for our family, which is our employees.
Thank you very much, Ms. Johnson. Sam and Latrell, you're next. Please be brief.
Hi, this is Sam Johnson. I have a question. Thank you. Also, I want to echo the thanks Wegmans being present in the Fort Greene, Clinton Hill area. From 2015, I remember the fights, just being, diligent and owning up to the promises that you've had. I do have a question. That something was posted in the chat that I do want to highlight in regards to police presence since the pandemic. It has been, visible that more NYPD officers have been in the front of the facility as well as inside of the facility. And I'm just curious on the decision that was made to actually do that. And also knowing that most of the residents that are inside of the housing development is not have security, works with customers who might be a little bit more needing further assistance. So I'm just curious about what that decision was and why is it there?
Okay, you did break up a little bit, so I'm just going to restate just to make sure that I understand your question. You're wondering about the presence of the NYPD at our store in lieu of maybe a security company? Is that what the question? Okay, so we have had NYPD at the store since we opened. We opened in October, the week before November, so it was our holiday season. The store was incredibly open during the busiest, shopping time of the year. And then in January, we were busy, and then in February, COVID hit. So normally, we have security at the store. We just never ended the NYPD security. They helped with parking lot issues. They help with traffic concerns. They help us give out masks if people come into the store without masks. It's the detail that we've used. We've also built a healthy partnership with the NYPD, including the precincts that serve the NYCHA houses right around the community, because they do a lot of community work over here. So we've helped with like turkey dinners for holidays and things like that. So I think it's a continuation of that community partnership. I don't think it was anything, there's nothing else to that other than that.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Johnson. And Latrell, you're the last one.
Hi, good evening. First of all, I wanted to thank you guys for your accessibility with people with disabilities. When I first went into Wegmans, I explained that I needed support to help me with my shopping. And every time after that, someone always is willing. I go to customer services, someone always willing to help me and support me and go around the store with me. So I just want to tell you, thank you so much for being concerned about the populations with disabilities and to help us.
Thank you very much, Latrell. Oh, go ahead, Ms. Johnson. You wanted to reply?
I just wanted to thank everyone for all the kind words, including Mr. Duke and Ms. Peterson, and thank everyone for the constructive feedback. Again, we're new members of this community, and we want our relationship to serve each of us well. And we're always looking for ways to improve because it's just something we do and it's a part of our values. So we really appreciate all the support we've gotten, all of the partnerships and all of the community interaction that we have received as we have went into this endeavor and have built a successful store in this neighborhood for a long time to come. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And we thank you, Mr. Cuff, Ms. Johnson, and Mr. Mickens for coming and giving us this presentation. I'm a happy Wegmans customer also. Thank you so much, and please feel free to come back.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, moving right along, folks, I was informed that Mr. Singletary will not be joining us, so you're stuck with me tonight. We'll start off, welcome everyone to our regular meeting. And I just want to introduce, well, I'm the first vice chair of Community Board 2, Leonard Jordan. Mr. Singletary, Mr. Lynn Singletary will not be with us. He's our chairperson. Our second vice chair is Ms. Barbara Zeller-Gringer. If you want to raise your hand, Barbara. And our secretary, Ms. Jessica Thurston, is there. And thank you so much for your service. I'd like to get a motion for approval of the agenda, and I did make some adjustments already. We did the presentations first.
So moved.
Bill Flournoy, so move.
Okay, and who seconded it?
Sid Meier.
Okay, Mr. Meyer. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Is anybody opposed? Let me just put it that way. Okay. And any abstentions? Okay. Now we'll go with the approval of the minutes from January 2021. Did everybody have a chance to look at the minutes? And are there any corrections, deletions, additions?
Motion to approve, John Doe.
Okay.
I've sent
Doe.
Jessica a note.
Who seconded? I'm sorry.
Juliet Cullen
Juliet?
sent Jessica a note.
Thanks, Juliet. I'm sharing it with the office.
Thank you.
Okay, so Ms. Chung, you sent a note with some corrections. Okay. Is there a second with corrections?
Mr. Vice Chair.
Okay, Mr. Harrison. Okay. Sorry, Ms. Fibish. I did see your hand. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay, so we'll move right along to the chairperson's report, which is the chairperson is not here. He has not made me aware of anything that he wanted me to share with you. So we're going to bypass the chairperson's report. We're going to go right on to the district office report. Miss Church, Miss Carol Ann Church. Miss Church?
Hello, everyone. Good night. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So I just want to say from the office that we are moving along. We're adjusting to the change quite well. And it gets better every day as we absorb the change. Under constituent inquiries, we have a selection of some of the items that come into the office. Stuff like street cleaning and ASP enforcement. Got that one a couple of times in the last month. Street lights out. And then just regular office administration stuff, sort of lots to do with liquor license applications and you know, people needing a lot of requests for waivers of the renewal. Probably likely with the pandemic, people have sort of fallen out of sync with what they normally do. So there are many, many more letters that have to be sent out to the state liquor authority in the last couple of months. We seem to be getting a couple more complaints than usual right now on rodent infestations. Sometimes we don't have them a lot, but in the last couple of weeks, we've had 3 complaints regarding rats. Idling car. It was a noise complaint, but just so that you know, you cannot report an individual for idling. It has to be like a truck or some such, not personal vehicles. And we've been very busy, Tia and I, with attending multiple meetings that impact district or that just informational. COVID briefings, we have those every other week. Quite often the notes are the same, just numbers are being updated, but they remind and stress each time, please continue to follow the protocols of hand washing, mask wearing, and social distancing. I'll skip some of this. I think we did it at the last meeting. Some of our board members are also actively involved in community organizations. Their reports are available in the public drive for your perusal. Anyone interested about 80 Flatbush and what's happening there? Ms. Gelbs has filed her report. There's a report regarding our local parks and plans for renovations. We attended a meeting regarding a project by Brooklyn Public Library, DOE events, and of course the district cabinet where the office meets with multiple city agencies for updates. And all that information is available in the public drive. So please feel free to look at it. As many have noticed, we have been upping our game on constituent outreach and engagement. And Taya has prepared some statistics to review. We are we're working on it. It's a lot of work, but it's rewarding in the increased numbers that we're seeing. Also, I don't know if anyone noticed this month that the general meeting was advertised and linked kiosks. You can only get 2 kiosks at a time for an event. So we'll be moving those around for each meeting. Let us know if you happen to see the link ad. And just a couple of things going on in the office. As I previously mentioned, the team is pulling together as we continue to work with one member short. Everyone keeps asking about Zoom. So that's more of an administrative hurdle that we are working daily to overcome. And hopefully very soon, and I know we've been saying this, we will have completed the purchase for Zoom. And we heard from a couple of members that we need to do better on accessibility, ensuring that everyone, members and anyone engaging with our meetings can participate fully if they may have an impairment. And I've probably been speaking too quickly now that I think of it. So Gustavo is the lead on this for us, and we will be providing cheat sheets for our chairpersons soon regarding that. And we thank the members who participated in filling out the contact sheet. It's really useful for us and for those who were willing to share their information. Thank you as well. It also makes it a little easier for your colleagues. And that's my report for tonight. Any questions on our report after you read them, please feel free to contact us.
Okay, so thank you very much, Ms. Church. And maybe you might have a couple of questions. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Church from the board?
Mr. Jordan.
Yes, sir, Mr. Dew.
I'm going to bring up the issue I always bring up. Carol Ann did address it. The Webex platform is not ADA compliant. I have raised this concern since you first decided to choose Webex. When you try to register, it does not allow you to register. That immediately makes it not ADA compliant. When do we expect to be able to go to the Zoom platform?
Well, Carol Ann, do you have a date?
No, I don't want to provide a date because we thought we would have had resolved this about 6 weeks ago. So I every day we move a centimeter closer, but I don't want to provide a date.
Okay, so Mr. Dew, I just want to say this about that, about the Zoom. I'm on Zoom all the time, and I really enjoy it. It's a lot easier. It's very user-friendly. Webex was something that the city provided. That's what I think DCAS instructed us to use. And also, I meant to tell everybody that these meetings are recorded, so that you know that. I think we had the notice before that, but I should have said that from the outset. But certainly, I agree with you there. And as soon as we're able to move to that Zoom platform, we're certainly in agreement with that.
If we can borrow the Zoom platform from the City Council in the interim, I'm just throwing out ideas because this WebEx platform is so unstable that it actually interferes with our ability to provide service to both the community board members and the community at large. It's very ticklish to get these meetings started. We wasted another 15 minutes on Monday and today getting through the kinks of WebEx. Please, Mr. Jordan, whatever you can do.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jordan, I have.
No, I see Miss Ali. I just want to make sure Mr. Dew is finished. So, Miss Ali,
okay.
Thank you, Mr. Dew.
Yes, I have done a little research to find out why we're stuck with WebEx. And what I found out is DCAS gave it to us as a service for free, but we're not married to it. We could buy our own Zoom and move on. We don't have to keep it because it's free. They are not insisting or imposing that we keep it. It's just that they're giving it to us without a cost.
Right. Well, that's what we're in the process of doing, buying the Zoom, our own Zoom license. But we have actually multiple licenses. I think that's what we're trying to get at this point. But it's just taking us a little time. Yeah. Okay. All right, Mr. Harrison.
Mr. Harrison, unmute.
Unmute yourself.
Mr. Jordan?
Sir.
It's Victor. Going back to the Webex.
No, Victor, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Mr. Harrison is first, and then I'll get to you, okay? Go ahead, Mr. Harrison.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. In sort of not response, but in response to what Ms. Ali said and Mr. Du said, yes, of course, because the chair has said, Ms. Ali, that the reason we have been using this is because it is the one the city provided. And there is a process, and they're working on the process, and there's also financial considerations. In response to what John said, John, I'm all with you, because there hasn't been a WebEx meeting that this body has hosted or been a party to, in which I've been a party to, in which either I haven't had much difficulty, I guess signing in would be the way to say it, or staying on. There's many times when I've gotten kicked out. That said, I think it would be remiss of me not to mention what a wonderful job that I think Ms. Church and her staff have done, both making sure that someone like myself who works from a tablet is registered, and also that we can get both in advance and in real time. So I just thought that needed to be said, Mr. Jordan. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. All right, Victor, you're the last one, I believe. Victor?
Mr. Jordan, Latrell also has a hand up.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just not able to.
Oh, that's okay. You can't see that one.
Thank you. All right, Latrell, until Victor unmutes himself. Latrell?
No, it's not. Sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead. Am I on now?
Go ahead, Victor.
Yes.
Yeah, WebEx I'm going to speak for myself here. As a blind person, WebEx for me really sucks because it doesn't work good with JAWS when you try to sign up and I have to get my assistant and everybody and their mother to try to help me sign up. To me, it's annoying.
Mm-hmm.
I can't sign up on my phone. I'm sorry, because I do stuff on my phone. I can't do it. Zoom, yes. Zoom and JAWS work hand in hand. I don't have any issues.
Yeah, thank you so much, Victor. And I understand the WebEx doesn't allow you to even log in with
right.
or to register on a cell phone. So
but I
working hard at it, Victor.
I have to thank you and the team for well done work at the board office and everywhere else around CB2. So.
Okay, I would like to thank the teams. It's Taya, Gustavo, and Carol Ann for the yeoman's work that they're doing there also. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for your report, Ms. Church. And we're going to move on to, do we have any elected officials here? That's online? Okay.
Victor, please go on mute.
I'm trying to. Can y'all mute me because I'm out.
We have some representatives.
Okay, I think we're going to get them at the after the business is over. Is that correct, Ms. Thurston, or what?
Yeah, we could. I just wanted to make sure you saw folks.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then, is there a list? Because I'll just call upon people. Okay, we'll go to that afterwards.
Okay.
So, next thing on the agenda, committees for action. Health, Environment, and Social Services Committee, Mr. Brandon Smith.
Good evening, everybody. I've been asked for the first time to present our liquor license applications at the general board meeting. So I'm going to try to go through these in as abbreviated manner as I can. And I'm going to ask that we, unless anyone has an objection, take a vote on all 5 of them, as there were no community concerns expressed about all 5 of our liquor license applications, the committee unanimously voted to approve all 5 of them. Before I do that, I did just want to note that we had a wonderful presentation from the Test and Trace Corp and NYU Langone at our last meeting. And they were kind enough to provide us with a link that people can go to look up status of stuff like who's going to be eligible for the vaccine at any given time. And I would be remiss not to share that in the chat, which I'm doing. And I hope if you have questions, please feel free to refer to that. We're going to adopt a standing agenda item in the Health Committee for an update on COVID-19 with the vaccine and status. There's a lot of information out there. Hope people will pay attention to it. Please come to our meetings. We're the first Wednesday of the month. But with that, I'm going to go into liquor licenses here, which are the actual items for approval this evening. The first item on the agenda is 33 Lafayette Avenue. Sorry, I don't think everybody's on mute because I'm getting a little feedback, but 33 Lafayette Avenue was the first item on the agenda. They're a full on-premise application. This location is in Fort Greene, across the street from the Peter J. Sharp building from BAM on Lafayette Avenue between Ashland and St. Felix. It's an existing establishment that operates as a wine bar that offers tapas, and what they're seeking is to move from beer and wine to doing a full liquor license. And they also have an outdoor part of their place where they want to extend the hours from 11 p.m. to midnight for the outdoor backyard. So we had a full discussion about this. It's also important to note there's an existing law in place. Some of you may have heard of it, called the 200-foot law, that bars have to live by, where you cannot have a full liquor license if you're within 200 feet of a school. There's a school within 200 feet on the corner, and the school's aware of the liquor license, and I believe they have reached a decision that they're not going to provide a comment about whether to approve it or not. So they're not pro or against. In order to get this application before us, the applicant literally went to Albany and got a law passed to amend the law and allow for a full on-premise liquor license to be established at this particular location. They further provided us signatures of a number of people who support their application, which included people who were upstairs from the applicant. They expressed a great desire, a great level of community support for their application, and there was no community concern expressed about their application. So with that in mind, our committee voted unanimously 7-0-0 to approve the full liquor license for 33 Lafayette. I'm going to go ahead to the next application. I'll take questions on all this at the end. The next application is 159 Bridge Park Drive, Brooklyn Sale. Some of you may have heard of Brooklyn Sale. It's a service that operates seasonally out of Brooklyn Bridge Park, where they have a vessel permit where they take people out on the boats, and they serve liquor out on the boats to people. We spoke a bit about COVID-19 protocol. They operate from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. out of Brooklyn Bridge Park. There was, again, no community opposition to this application. We approved it by a margin of 7-0-0. The third application we heard from is 922 Fulton Street. 922 Fulton Street is between Washington Avenue and St. James Place on Fulton Street. This is a burrito spot, and the applicant spoke to us in detail about his community support and the fact they're going to close at 9 p.m. every day. They do have a backyard, but he has spoken with the neighbors and they completely support him, and they're ADA accessible. Again, we supported this application by a margin of 7-0-0. The fourth application that we heard is 333 Atlantic Avenue. 333 Atlantic Avenue is between Smith and Hoyt Street on the north side of Atlantic Avenue. This is going to be a restaurant with live music, and we spoke in detail about their ability to hire locally. and they expressed that they've spent a considerable amount of money, 6 digits on soundproofing this location. The live music is going to consist of folk and jazz music. They're really trying to be a spot that's going to work with the community and hire locally and be sort of a neighborhood resource. They indicated that they had had a lot of support from their interactions with their neighbors, and they're going to be open until 2 a.m. 7 days a week at this location. No outdoor seating at that spot. The final location that we heard from was 39 Clifton Place. 39 Clifton Place is located at the corner of Clifton Place and Grand Avenue in Fort Greene. This location is called Guevara's. The owner-operator spoke about her experience operating restaurants in the past. It's going to be a pop-up vegan Cuban style coffee venue where they don't sell anything over $10. They're going to be open until 10 p.m. every day. And they had spoken to the owners of the nearby co-op who had given their staunch support for the application. Based upon this, we voted to approve this application by a margin of 7-0-0. So that concludes the discussion of the 5 liquor license applications we had. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Well, Mr. Smith, I just wanted to find out, was 333 Atlantic 700 also?
7-0-0. Not sure what you're referring to by that.
I'm sorry, the vote on 333 Atlantic.
Oh, it was, yes, correct.
Yeah.
Correct. That was the case. Every vote that we had on each of the applications was 7-0-0.
Okay. So is there a motion to accept the committee's report?
Bill Flanoy, motion to accept all 5 items.
Okay, and is there a second?
Question?
Well, we're going to have a discussion.
So what's, okay, sure, seconded.
Who seconded?
Ezra.
Lane 2. Miss Ali, that's the one I heard, sorry. Okay, now is there discussion, questions?
How many?
Yeah, I have one discussion point, Mr. Jordan. I have one discussion point. It was past policy of the community board to approve all of the liquor licenses in one group. Going forward, that had 100% approval from the committee. There would only be an opportunity to discuss those applications that did not get full approval as a time-saving measure. So I would like to suggest that we reconsider implementing that policy going forward to save time.
Okay, now I understand, Mr. Du, but there are some questions, and that might bear, the person that might be asking the question may be thinking about not voting for it based on the answer that they get. So I do have to let them, answer their question at this point. I can understand what you're saying, going forward. All right.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah, Miss Ali.
Yeah, I have a question about 39 Clifton Place. I missed hearing what they were applying for because they're around the corner from where I live. Brandon?
Yes, sorry, Miss Ali. Thanks for your question. 39 Clifton Place is applying for a full liquor license.
Full liquor, okay.
They're going to be open from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. every day of the week. And it's going to be a vegan Cuban style coffee venue where everything costs upwards of $10. They mentioned they had spoken with the co-op that is right nearby. This is right on the corner of that corner that I mentioned of Clifton and St. James, and the co-op had given their staunch support. So that was the extent that we heard about the community support for that application.
Yeah, but St. James is a block away. They have buildings on Grand itself. It's okay. I'm not gonna hold it up. I'll vote for the application.
Okay, there's some other questions, I think.
Mr. Chair?
Yes. Harrison.
Just a point of clarification. the liquor license that Miss Ali and Mr. Smith were just noting, Mr. Smith said was in Fort Greene. It's in Clinton Hill.
Okay. Thank you,
Thanks
Mr.
for
Harris.
noting that, and I misspoke about the corner streets. It's the corner of Clifton and Grand, and that's the location that it's at, not Clifton and St. James. So I want to be correct about that.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none. I'm going to ask for all those that are opposed, please raise your hand. Okay, and any abstentions? If you're abstaining, please raise your hand.
I might not see that, so if you did, okay, Tay, you don't see any of it.
All right, Ms. Thurston, just tell me what would be best for you.
No, that's fine. Tay and I are both looking at the same time, so I think we're good. I think we can.
Okay.
We'll
So I guess it's
unanimous approval. If anyone feels like they were missed, just send us a note.
okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Thank you for your committee's hard work. Next is Parks and Recreation Committee. Ms. Barbara Zellagranga.
This is a joint meeting, and I think Betty Fibush is going to lead the discussion.
Okay, I didn't have that on my agenda. I'm sorry about that. Okay.
Okay, briefly in summary, on December 7th, the joint committee, which was Parks and the Youth Education Cultural Affairs, met and voted 11-05 to issue a letter to the Parks Department in support of removing the statue. That's the statue of Columbus in Columbus Park by the court. There was a presentation by TDC and NYC, which is Take Down Columbus NYC, and there was public discussion. Between December 11th and 22nd, there were discussions between additional organizations and Rob Harris, the district manager at the time. This resulted in a second meeting being scheduled for February 4th. Speakers from 2 Italian-American organizations presented. We heard from many people. I didn't count, but it was probably upwards of 20 people speaking to both sides of the question. So at the end of the meeting, our joint committee could have made no change, amended, revised, or repealed. But following the community comments, the joint committee voted in accordance with the parliamentary procedure to adjourn, which means that the initial vote of 11-0 to 5 still holds and is being brought to the full board for discussion and a vote.
Okay, and the recommendation is to send a letter from Community Board 2 to the Parks Department to recommend the removal of the statue?
Correct. Barbara, do you have anything to add to
Yes,
that?
I did. Thank you, Betty. And thank you for that. You did a great job discussing what happened. I just wanted to thank publicly again the members of both committees who attended both of those meetings, listened respectfully to all of the discussion that took place. I know there were certain people who were concerned about our having a second meeting, but I think many of those people did not need the first meeting, that they knew going in how they were going to this issue. And the second meeting, to a large extent, was not only two purposes. One, to give discussion on the issue, and also I think those people who were not sure about how to vote had a better understanding of the issues and the different sides involved. And I'm pretty certain that if we had taken a new vote on Thursday, the vote would have been different, and several people would have voted, who had abstained would have voted. So I think there was great value in having the second discussion. And I'm sorry in a way that there wasn't a second vote, but those who are board members will have another opportunity to vote tonight. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. So is there a motion to accept the committee's recommendation? Mr. Gordon, and is there a second?
Okay.
All right, Mr. Smith, Mr. Dwight Smith, sorry. Okay, so there's a discussion. Questions, Mr. Scala?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was like party to that meeting, and I just wanted to make a comment about the fact that the letter will omit any kind of replacement for the statue, and I was disappointed at that. I think the letter, while it was a good letter, the fact of taking down, I'm not against that. The fact that it didn't have what would be the replacement would leave it up to whatever to find that replacement. I would like to have the letter amended, if you can, to read something to the point that we'd like to have a committee established or something to look for a replacement, and just not flatly say remove it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Scala. There are probably other hands up. Mr. Sproul.
Yes, I'm one of those people who did not attend the meeting because I've been having problems connecting to Webex because I can only use my phone, and I just recently had that problem resolved, which is why I am here. My question is, there seems to have been an agreement in committee that the statue would be removed. However, the park is named after Christopher Columbus. It's called Columbus Park. Are we going to change the name as well, or is that another discussion?
Okay, well, there were two points that were brought up. So, Ms. Zalagrena, did you want to address those 2 points or what?
Well, I'm wondering if either one of those are seeking a friendly amendment to the motion.
Well, Mr. Scala brought up the point about there's no recommendation to replace it with anything. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I wouldn't know how to phrase the amendment, but I would like to make a friendly amendment if that's possible, because I do think as a committee, it would be very proactive when we write the letter to state that we do want it removed, but it would be very, very interesting to let someone know that we'd like a replacement, just not take it down. The city of New York would take it down, and then we would have some sort of a blank spot there. That's all. So if we could have an amendment to add to that, I would appreciate it.
I think I have Mr. Gordon as having made the motion, if I heard that correctly. Was that what
Yes.
you said, Mr. Jordan? Okay, so
Mr.
Mr.
Gordon,
Gordon, do you accept a friendly amendment?
I'll accept it.
Okay, so I could state it as, yes, in support of the committee's recommendation, but with an addition to the letter that states that we'd like to see a committee or something formed to replace the statue. Yeah, does that
to recommend an individual to be honored in lieu?
I think we're getting into way too far into this. Like, for instance, the committee discussed removing the statue, right? The committee did not discuss replacing it with anything. Is that correct?
There was discussion about, especially at the first meeting, about the possibility of replacing it.
But that's not what we voted on.
That's not what you voted on. That's
no,
what I'm
but
saying.
You asked if there was discussion, and there was discussion.
Okay, but when they voted, did they vote on having a replacement or what? Because, I mean, we could always... All right, so we're actually changing what the spirit of the vote was. Is that right?
I don't think so.
I think
personally.
So. Dorothea.
Can I ask a question?
Let's just finish this discussion. Perhaps, Mr. Scala, would you be amenable to instead bringing up that recommendation at the next Parks Committee meeting and suggesting it as a secondary, a supplement to the letter or something to that effect? I think that might be a little bit cleaner and ensure we can vote on this tonight.
So basically what you're saying is vote on this letter as it stands and then have another letter written to ask for replacement?
It sounds complicated, but I think it would be more in line with the spirit of what we meant to vote on tonight.
Yeah, because I think
that might Mr. Jordan speak.
One second. I think the spirit of the vote, at least what everybody was voting on, was just to remove the statue, and that there may have been discussion, but they did not vote on that. So that's why, and all the meetings that they had and all the groups that came in, that still the discussion was just to remove the statue. I know it sounds complicated and convoluted, but I think if we change it, we'll be changing exactly what the people voted on, which I don't think is the right thing to do.
Well, in that case, I would agree with it.
Can
In
I
that
please
case, I
just
would
make
agree
a
with it and leave the
statement?
amendment.
Okay.
Excuse me, Ms. Ali. In that situation, then I would just remove my friendly amendment,
Oh,
and I
Mrs.
would
Keller.
encourage Ms. Zelleringer to sort of have another meeting and have another letter written that we, as a community, we'd like to have candidates to replace the Christopher Columbus statue.
Mr. Chair, Mr.
One
Chair.
second, I'm
And
gonna
I
call on
assume
everybody.
at that
Wait a
time
minute.
we could
Yeah.
talk about the name of the park itself.
Perfect.
Yeah. Look, folks, we can sing together, but we cannot talk at the same time. So now,
We do
Mr.
need to
Sproul,
move ahead.
Mr. Sproul had a point. Wait a minute, Miss Ali, I'm going to get to you. Mr. Sproul had a point also. That now, Mr. Sproul, could you repeat that? What you said? I think we've forgotten it now.
Yes. My question was, since the park is named after Christopher Columbus, it's called Columbus Park. Should we change the name of the park as well? I am not presenting this as a Second Amendment, however, only as a question, because I think to decide on that would also be premature, and that would have to go into committee as well. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Sproul. So, Ms. Zelleringer, do you have was there any discussion as far as that goes?
Yes, there also was discussion about the name of the park on it.
Okay.
The vote was strictly about the statue itself, the status of the statue.
So then,
I think what Mr. Sproul is saying that would that be something that you would want to discuss at subsequent meetings about first of all the replacement of the statue, and then also changing the name of the park.
We certainly would entertain discussion on that. I just want to remind everybody that what we're voting on tonight is a recommendation. It's my understanding that it's the Parks Department that has the final determination here. It's not, unfortunately, it's not the community board. So I just want people to be aware of that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Okay, Miss Ali.
Yes, the reason I kept my hand up and I kept insisting is because the same issue came up when they were discussing removing Columbus from the Columbus Circle in Manhattan. And I am aware that the city has a committee that is looking into statuary for different replacements around the city. And I think the board should find out from the city who is that committee. I know the mayor's wife perhaps was on that committee. I know there's a number of people around the city that includes artists and different stakeholders that is looking for replacements. So if we were to include in our letter something regarding the replacement, it would then shift from the parks to that committee.
No, it won't.
Well,
I would have that as part of the discussion at the Parks Committee.
Yeah, again, I agree, Ms. Thurston. So again, I'd say, Ms. Ali, what they voted on was to send a letter to the Parks Department.
Recommending. Got you.
All right,
I
recommending
understand.
that,
Okay.
and that's what they actually voted on. Now, Ms. Zelleringer, did you have any? Are you aware of this other committee that Ms. Ali is talking about?
Yes. There was discussion as well about one. I think one of our presenters at one of the meetings brought up the yes, at the last meeting they brought up the committee. We're aware of it, and they have.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
If I can add to this discussion, there were several members of the community who spoke, who said that there are many, many noteworthy Italian Americans who could be honored through statuary, and that it doesn't have to be Columbus. So it is related, not just removing, but replacing to honor the spirit of contribution of the Italian Americans.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Harrison, and then Mr. Lastowski.
Yes, Mr. Chair, and before I say what I want to say, I have a question. And it's a simple question. Is Mr. John Quint present? at this meeting?
Yes.
I'm here.
Hi, John. What I was waiting for you to jump in because I think some of this discussion could have been avoided. Mr. Acting Chair, there was a motion by Cyril for a friendly amendment, which he can always withdraw on his own, or the maker of the motion cannot accept
He withdrew
it.
the motion.
He already withdrew it.
Need to really move ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Harrison, I can't hear you. Yeah, I think you're muted still.
I withdrew the motion, Mr. Harrison.
He withdrew his motion.
Yes, I know, but we could have avoided all that discussion by just following Robert's rules.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Mr. Lester Wecky.
I just, let's not complicate it. We have a proposal that came out of both committees that is coming before the board here about our letter to request the removal of the statue. It still is up to the park to finally act on it. Whether it goes higher or not, it's none of our business. Let them act on that. And then secondly, in a over a period of time, we can get together again and maybe create a committee which would entertain possible candidates for replacement. But it's not going to be us. It's going to be the Parks Department because it's their property. And, there's a whole procedure about placing statues. It's not just because we in a committee decide we're going to do that. It is a whole procedure of renaming parks that's going to be from the Parks Committee to the city, possibly to the council. I don't know the details of that. And then finding a possible candidate of a possible replacement out of a statue there. It's not just going to be 1, 2, 3. It's going to be a lengthy process.
Mr. Chair, may I call the question, please?
I'd like to call the question.
Yeah, call the question. We're getting to the weeds.
Yeah.
Second, call the question.
Well, I just want to get this one person. He had his hand up. Mr. Morris?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much for
Martha, just give him a treat.
letting me
Don't
speak
go
on
there
this.
and try to give him a treat.
I would like to say that what I said in my testimony before the committee, which is Columbus got to go. Columbus does not deserve the honorings that he's received.
Mr. Morris, this discussion,
in
are you a board member, Mr. Morris?
No.
Okay.
We need to go ahead and vote.
Okay, we have to go into vote. This is
Thank
only
you,
for
Mr.
the
Morris.
discussion is for the board members, okay? So we're going to vote right now. So thank you so much, okay? All right, the question has been called. So we have the motion and it's been properly seconded. So I will just ask all those that are opposed, please raise your hand. Committee's recommendation. All those that are opposed, please raise your hand.
I see Mr. Harrison. Is there anyone I'm missing? If so, you can shout at me. Okay.
Okay. Any abstentions? Please raise your hand.
I see Mr. Scala, Mr. Jordan abstaining.
Dorothea.
And
Ms.
Ms. Manning.
Mr. Sproul abstains. Ms. Gilman abstains. I see no other hands for abstention.
Who was, I'm sorry, I Dorothea, Mr. Jordan, Mr. Sproul, Ms. Gilman. Who did I miss? Mr. Scala? Thanks, Cyril. Great.
Okay.
Thank you,
Okay.
everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Carol Ann?
Motion passed.
Sometimes, not sometimes, but usually it's helpful when we have to write a letter if we can explain what the opposition or the abstentions were. So if anyone would like, you don't have to, it's nice. If anyone would like to give their reasons for abstaining or opposing.
And could they follow up and provide them to the board office too, Carol Ann, before it's drafted?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Chair.
Carolyn, Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Okay,
Can we contact the board directly with our
Sure.
abstention reason?
That
that what you're
information
saying?
is in the original.
I'm not sure that that is okay because it's a public meeting and
Right,
Okay,
it's
if
in
you
the
can
original.
summarize
That
it,
you can't
okay.
do that. You
Mr.
cannot take
Scala,
that
if
type
you
of
can
information.
summarize it
Wait a minute,
quickly,
Mr. Du.
I'll note it in the minutes.
can I just hear what Mr. Du was
Okay,
explaining?
thank you. All I'm
Okay.
saying is I'm abstaining because the letter did not go forward and recommend some sort of a committee to look for replacement for Christopher Columbus statue. Basically, and that's what I'm looking for. Thank you.
Du, what's
Okay,
your
again,
comment, Mr. Du?
again, this is
Yeah,
Eric Sproul. I'm not
Go
giving a
ahead,
reason and I don't have to.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Du,
Mr.
what was your
Scala.
comment? 1 second, folks.
My only point is that we cannot add to a letter something that was not put on the agenda that is germane to the project. The public was not informed that we would be doing this. You have to give notice and have the meeting. So you can't just willy-nilly add stuff to a letter that was not published that it would be discussed.
Okay.
That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Mr. Du.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Du.
Mr. Du. I will withdraw that, and I will contact Ms. Zella, Barbara Zellazing at our next meeting. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. We're going to move on. Transportation.
Question, if I could. I'm sorry to.
Yeah. Who is that?
This is
Mr.
Nick
Ferreira?
Ferreira. Yes. So I just had a question for the more senior seasoned folks on the board. You know, I'm relatively new. I was wondering about precedent, about requesting a second meeting after committees have voted on something, and what kind of precedent we have to open up a second meeting after the vote had happened. And if there is precedent, what would sort of, what would engage that? What makes that happen? Just so that I can understand that process a little more. Thank you.
So I'm not quite understanding that second meeting.
Well, we had originally, Mr. Jordan, we had a meeting, and it's my understanding it's a public meeting. The topic for the meeting was made public. People showed up. People made their.
Okay, I'd like to comment on that.
I'm sorry, Mr. Ferreira, you must be mute. I couldn't hear what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Sorry. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
We had initially had a meeting about this. The public showed up. They said what they wanted to say, and we voted.
Mm-hmm.
A request for a second meeting because certain groups felt that I don't know why. And so that's my question. How did we get to the second meeting? Is there a precedent to help me understand that?
I don't know if there's a precedent, but I know from my vantage point of what I experienced was that the district manager heard from various Italian American organizations who wanted to officially speak and give their opinions and testimony. And we were asked to schedule a second meeting. But I understand your concern about, can any vote that a committee have, ultimately somebody else will come and say something else, and we need to have closure on these things. So I hear your point.
Yeah, so I appreciate it. I was just curious. So is that the answer then?
Well, I tell you, Mr. Ferreira, I would have to get back to you on it. I'm not sure myself. I know I was on the land use committee when we had the library situation, and I know we had 2 meetings there, but I don't think I think we only had 1 vote, but we did have 2 meetings on the same issue.
Right.
You know,
I've experienced that. So
yeah.
I just, okay, so I appreciate that. I am going to say, I'm just going to use this opportunity to say it because I will be upset with myself if I don't. As somebody who the society would deem a white male, it appeared to me that we made concessions for white men to come and speak before us a second time, and it was very uncomfortable for me. So that's all I wanted to say.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ferreira, and I will get back to you with that. You know, there's a precedent as far as that's concerned. Okay. Any other comments. Okay, we're going to move right along, folks. Transportation and Public Safety, Ms. Cullen Chung.
Good evening, Community Board 2. I am Juliet Cullen Chung, Chair of Transportation and Public Safety Committee. And Taya, if you could give me the authority to share my screen, I will go over the first proposal from DOT. Thank you. I have two proposals for you this evening. The first one was a presentation from DOT for pedestrian signage at the gateway to the promenade pedestrian and cyclist entrance of the Brooklyn Bridge, located at Tillery and Adams Street. And I'm sharing only 2 screens from their presentation, so I hope to be brief. Are you seeing the content?
Not yet.
Okay. Can you tell me when it pops up?
Here it is now.
Okay, great. So these are proposals for the signage. It is a 12-foot long blade sign. There are various proposals that we did not select from, but we did vote to give them recommendations to make sure to pick a sign that was highly visible, potentially lit for nighttime visibility, and also to add a perpendicular sign so that pedestrians going this way on Tillery would be able to see that this is the entrance, pedestrian entrance to the Brooklyn Bridge. And I will show you one more slide from the presentation of their various proposals. So this was approved by committee, 10 approved, 0 objected, and 1 abstention.
Okay, thank you.
Approved of what?
It was approved for a recommendation to PDC.
But I see 4 signs here.
Yes, that's right. As I mentioned, we did not select a particular sign. We gave them the recommendation that they choose a sign that is highly visible, potentially incorporating lighting, and also to add a perpendicular sign. So DOT will choose or probably present all 4 to PDC, but hopefully incorporating our discussions about legibility and about lighting. This one, for example, is a cutout, which would be less visible without lighting than maybe these vinyl graphics that are more reflective.
Okay, thank you so much, Cullen Chung. Now, folks, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the committee's recommendation with a second, and then we'll have a discussion with questions. All right, a motion to approve the committee's recommendation.
Bill Flournoy, motion to approve.
Thank you. Is this and seconded by Mr. Gordon?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Gordon. Thank you. Now we're open for discussion or questions.
Just to say, I support it. I've helped tourists trying to find the entrance so they get, towards the Brooklyn Bridge. So I think this will be it's a good move. I support it.
Is there anybody else? Because I can't see everybody with this up. So any other questions? Okay, hearing none.
Can you take down the sign, Juliet?
Yes, I can take down the sign. I'll stop
Thank
sharing.
you.
Okay.
Okay, I don't see anybody on this screen. Taya, do you see anybody?
I do not, Mr. Jordan.
Okay. All right, hearing none. We'll do it the same way as we did it before. All those that are opposed to the committee's recommendation, please raise your hand. Is that Mr. Oh, no, I'm sorry. No,
I don't see any. If I've missed
any
you,
hands.
shout out.
Okay. Any abstentions? Okay, so I think we're unanimous. Is that right, Ms.
I
Thurston?
think so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Ms. Cullen Chung, you have another one?
Yes, the second item I'm presenting is about the Open Streets program. But before I get into that particular motion, I wanted to give the context that we invited DOT to come to our meeting and sent them in advance, about a month in advance, a list of questions that could be researched. And we do this on a somewhat annual basis. Maybe it was a year and a half this time because of COVID. And DOT came to the meeting without any answers to any of the questions. And it seems to have slipped the mind of the community associate coming to the meeting to have followed up and gotten answers to the questions. So luckily, we are able to get them back to the next meeting to be able to address those questions. But perhaps even a week ago, we got the response from somebody higher up in the DOT that we had sent too many questions and that we should even prioritize those questions. So I want to give the context that our relationship with DOT could use improvement. And we have been noting for a while of the deterioration of communication between this committee and this community board and DOT. I hope to see that improve in the future with the new commissioner who is a resident of Community District 2, Hank Gutman. He will be, he's the commissioner now of DOT, replacing Polly Trottenberg, who is now at the federal level as the as the Deputy Secretary of Transportation. So all of those things bode well for us. Hopefully, Hank Gutman, who was on the Blue Ribbon Committee for the BQE, hopefully he will be able to help improve that communication, but we do call on the leadership of Community Board too to help with that situation. So
I've made a note about that. This is not the first time I've heard of that, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
So,
yes. So that's the background to our discussion about Open Streets. Open Streets is the program where certain streets around the city are closed off between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. And typically community partners replace and remove the barriers that allow those streets to be used for pedestrians and for bicyclists and for children. And it was very popular in the summer during COVID, and it actually is continuing. It hasn't ended. DOT has continued the program, although with winter and with the lack of engagement of community partners, that program feels like it's not really in as robust of a condition as it was during the summer. So our motion, so with that context, also that the New York Police Department has become the de facto partner when local civic associations and businesses have not been engaged as partners or aren't keeping up their end of the bargain with removing and replacing the barricades each day. We are recommending that the DOT, instead of relying on such resource-intensive processes as community partnerships to constantly manage open streets, we're asking that DOT look at making open streets self-enforcing, that is to allow open streets to discourage through traffic with design and traffic pattern changes, rather than relying on the constant vigilance of community partners. And Brian, thank you for that language.
And
the motion was approved, 8 approved, 2 opposed, and 1 abstained.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept the committee's recommendation?
Motion to approve.
Okay, Ms. Thurston, second.
I second. Dorothy Karstapen.
Yes, Ms. Karstapen?
Yep, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Discussion?
Hello, it's Irene Janner.
Hi, Irene.
Okay. I'm a little confused on what your recommendation is. Are you proposing that these streets would always be closed?
No, we're just recommending a letter to the DOT for to improve the management of the Open Streets program by instead of relying on community partners to manage the barricades, to change the direction of to look at design alternatives that could help to make the program self-enforcing. So we're not saying one way or another, okay, it's always going to be closed, but perhaps that is what they come up with.
But I think the reason that they may have not had them always open is at night, overnight. Very often residents need to get in and out of the streets by their homes.
And residents are always allowed to access open streets at 5 miles an hour. They typically themselves remove the barricades and replace the barricades, or local traffic, not through traffic. Through traffic is what is not allowed. So, you know, if there's somebody living on that block, they're able to access that street.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Zellagringa.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan.
And Ms. Ali.
I need to echo Irene's comment. I'm really not, I don't really understand what you're asking for here. Are you asking for some sort of barrier other than the horses, and that police would put them up and take them down, and that people could not move them? It's just not very clear.
Yep, that's a good point. We're recommending that DOT look at street design rather than relying on such partners as the NYPD or any other community partners to remove or take down the barriers. We're not coming up with our own design. You know, we're not traffic engineers. We're recommending that they look at design as a tool to use. One idea that was proposed in the committee was that if the direction of traffic were reversed for those streets, then traffic would be naturally slowed. So only local traffic could access those streets, but in a reverse format.
I mean, I have found, you know, that those horses are not where they should be. They're metal things. I've put them back where they belong.
Thank you.
Myself on streets.
We are exactly commenting on that deterioration of the program, in that it is not as well managed as it used to be over the summer. Community partners.
No, this was over the summer. This is, you know, people. Yeah. I'm talking about Girolamo Street. People. I don't live on Girolamo, but I walk there, and it's very hard for me to understand what you're proposing in lieu of that. Design what?
They're gonna find the design.
The DOT. So as a committee, as a Transportation and Public Safety Committee, we typically ask DOT for studies. We ask DOT to investigate and look at things and engineer solutions. Right. You know, when we point out particularly dangerous intersections, we don't come up with the solution of a traffic island. We ask DOT to look at a dangerous intersection and come up with a solution. So that's what we're doing here. We're asking DOT to look at its arsenal of tools with its traffic engineers and see if they can propose a solution that's better than the community partners using the metal gates and the sawhorses as
that explains it much better. I appreciate it. Thank you. So you're asking for some sort of is what you're saying. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Ms. Quint and then Ms. Medley. Just looking for board members, and then I'm sorry, Ms. Ali. I'm sorry, Ms. Ali first, then Ms. Quint and Ms. Medley. Go ahead, Ms. Ali. You're muted.
Yeah, this is such a good idea. I've spent more than an hour around Vanderbilt trying to get through, and I think they could just put an arrow saying no turns 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So before you enter the box or the intersection area, you know not to go there. It's been a mess for people that drive. So I fully support what transportation has requested.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Quint.
Yeah, thank you. And the last couple of discussion points helped me. I live on an open street, so just have a lot of reservations about this. I'm either, I see pros and cons of the open streets, and I guess I just don't feel strong enough that I would want traffic patterns to be designed around them at this point. It just feels new to me and still sort of being worked out. So that makes me a little nervous in an area of the district that has a lot of complex traffic issues. So just stating that.
I have to admit that I was the abstention. So the DOT is coming back to our committee next week, and we do plan to, I think they plan to bring somebody from their public space program. So we do plan to talk to them about this.
Okay,
Okay.
Ms. Medley.
Hello. Just wanted to be clear. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
The open streets were because of the pandemic, correct? So is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't think that we should do anything permanently with that. There shouldn't be anything done until the pandemic is over. Open streets were something that was done a very long time ago, but it was closing them off for school recreation, and something like that. And it was for a very short time of the day when there was not a lot of traffic. It wasn't for such a very long period of the day.
My
So
understanding
how about if we just allow the streets to have the open streets, and when the pandemic is over, then maybe do a request of the best parts of the open street and see if we can keep that. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Karstoffen. I'm sorry, am I mispronouncing your name?
It's okay. It's Car Starfin. You were close.
Okay.
I think to the point that was just made, relatedly, I think that open streets, there's been an announcement that open streets are here to stay. So the recommendation to find a better way is a good one to deal with people who live there, people who want to access the streets, traffic and safety control, etc.
Okay, Mr. Howell.
Yeah, sorry, just someone, that's the person who made the motion. I thought I would, give some anecdotes that I think some of us can relate to of going, whether it's Joralemon Street or some other street, the on two things, the barricades and people making sure that they're in place. And all it takes a person removing a barricade and not putting it back, and the open street doesn't exist anymore. There have been a bunch of cases in North Brooklyn where all the barricades were stolen and thrown, over a fence into an area that was inaccessible. And it really just allows one person to negate the open street that's meant for everybody to use. And so a process that has so many possible failure points and that everything needs to go right in order for the open street to exist is something that over time is bound to fail. So that's why I made this motion.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Howell. All right, any more comments from the board?
Yeah, this is Bill Flinoy. May I comment?
Hey, Bill, yes.
Okay. Yes, I'm currently close to one of the open streets on Hoyt Street. And what I've noticed on Hoyt Street is that the residents, but more importantly, the stores actually institute the open streets. They're the ones that actually take out the horses, put them in place, monitor them, and then put them away. And it works very well. I've seen residents actually pull up to the horses, take the horses aside, drive through, put the horses back. My feeling basically is to make this permanent. Permanent design, I don't think would be something I don't think would work. And I think it'd be actually a disadvantage to any of the individuals there living there, because once you put that block, that design into the street, it's going to be affecting flow when there's not open streets. So my feeling basically is to leave it as it is. And if the individuals there are not willing to do it, then stop it at that open street. That's my feeling. Thank you.
Mr. Gordon, we can't design open streets in a community board meeting. This is a policy that was implemented without consultation by DOT throughout the community. In the past, the traffic engineer would have come to a community board transportation committee meeting and presented it, and we would have discussed the policy. It would have been rolled out, taking the entire community and the differences into consideration. That did not happen here. So every block is doing whatever every block wants to do or can make happen. That's not how a community board is supposed to run. We are going to continue to have these problems if a policy is implemented at the DOT level and inserted into a community with no input from the community. We are a community board. We are supposed to be consulted before anything relevant happens in the community. It did not happen here, and they did not answer the questions that we submitted, because we get questions every month. We don't have the traffic engineer that comes to every meeting every month. We have lots of stuff going on in Community District 2 that requires a lot of attention from DOT. So as soon as we get the traffic engineer back, these problems will be minimized. But until that happens, we are going to continue to have meetings where everybody's giving their individual input for the fact that there is no policy on this at all.
Thank you, Mr. Du.
Move the question, please.
1 second, folks. I just want to get Ms. Einhorn, and I'll take one comment from the public. All right, Ms. Einhorn?
I did just want to note that I put in the chat that the mayor has announced that this is going to be a program that continues.
Ms. Einhorn, 1 second. Does somebody have, please go on mute if you have background noise? Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Einhorn.
Thank you. So I just wanted to note that I put in the mayor has announced that open streets will continue beyond the pandemic. So this was a program that was designed to be temporary and has now become permanent. And the solutions to deal with some of the issues that the community might face as this becomes a permanent program have not been discussed with the board, nor have they been implemented by DOT. And so as that transition happens, I think that the committee's recommendation is just incredibly sound to take a look at how the transition from semi-permanent program to permanent should be implemented in such a high traffic area.
And I have a point of order. I have a point of order. This is the community board. This is Sid Meier. I have a point of order.
Yes.
You know, this is the community board meeting. We have open session at the end. We have at the meetings, we have open session. We're not supposed to have open session when we're in the middle of votes with comments from the public. It's for the board members only. And that's a point of order. Please ask Mr. Quint about that.
No, I understand. Yeah. We're gonna adhere to that, Mr. Meier. Okay.
So call the question.
Okay. So now we're going to go to the vote. All right. It's been the motion's been made and properly seconded. All those that are opposed, please raise your hand.
Or make noise.
Ms. Medley, your hand is digitally raised, but I'm not sure. Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you have your hand digitally raised for something else, if it's for the...
Mr. Ferreira and Ms. Medley have their digital hands raised.
Right.
I see no other, and Ms. Blount. I see Ms. Blount and Ms. Quint.
Someone who has their television on, please mute.
And Esther Blount.
Ms. Bond, are you a full board member? I'm blanking on our updated list. Or are you a committee member?
I'm sorry, I'm just a committee member.
Okay,
I'm
thank
on the
you.
land use committee.
So I'm sorry, I did not catch who is opposed.
Who's opposed? Please raise your hand again.
Suzanne Quint, John Harrison, Nicholas Ferreira.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and any abstentions?
Mr. Eric Sproul, Dwight Smith, Zero Scala, Dorothea Thompson Manning. I see no other abstentions.
Bill Flanoy abstains.
I'm abstaining.
Okay, Mr.
I
Dwight
haven't heard
Smith,
my
Mr.
name.
Scala, Ms. Thompson Manning, Ms. Ayler Gringer, Mr. Flanoy, Ms. Feibush abstaining. I missed one other person, I think.
Mr. Sproul.
Thank you, Mr. Sproul.
Hiya. This is Nan Blackshear.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Taya,
Yes.
this is Nan Blackshear.
Yeah, we hear you.
Esther Blunt is an appointed member of Community Board too.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that.
Thanks, Ms. Blackshear.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, does it carry, Jessica?
I don't have the total, but I think that it does.
Why don't you total it?
Because I will total it and let you know if I'm wrong about that.
Huh?
Do we know how
Sproul,
many members we have?
Mr. Sproul,
That's
it
right.
does pass.
Yeah, it passes. It's like 8 people that abstained.
Thank you.
So the motion
for the-
passes.
Yeah, for the committees to report, if folks can keep it to 2 minutes.
Well, we have one more. We have one more committees for action.
We have a committee to action.
Youth Education and Cultural Affairs, Ms. Feibush.
Thank you. Thank you for staying with us, everyone. Much appreciated. Our Youth Education Cultural Affairs met on January 27th. We heard from the New York Harbor School High School, parent leaders and teachers regarding the need for an adequate training facility because they need to teach swimming and diving, which is necessary for their maritime study and for jobs in the harbor. Many students are not able to swim, and the school doesn't have a gym or an auditorium, as well as not having a pool. This is a time-sensitive request because there's a ULURP process for private development proposals to utilize the buildings on the island. Community Board 1 in Lower Manhattan recently resolved to support the school in its pursuit of adequate training facilities. So the request to the board is a resolution of support at the trust, that's the Trust for Governor's Island, Accord Building 515 to the New York Harbor School High School for training facilities, pool, that as well as classrooms, that will enable it to fulfill the maritime mission. And our committee voted 6-0 to 1 in support, and it's to write a letter to the City Council and the City Planning Commission in support of the building being accorded to the Harbor School.
Okay, thank you,
We
Ms.
would
Feibush.
accept the recommendation.
Okay, Ms. Bringer.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Karstoffen. All right, discussion?
Mr. Chair, this is Bill Flanoy.
Yes.
I've had members of the public come to my committee also and request the same thing, so I definitely approve.
Okay,
Thank you.
any other comments, questions? Okay, hearing none. Is there any that I don't see? Okay, hearing none. All those that are opposed to this, to the committee's recommendation. All right, Ms. Thompson Manning, is there anybody else? Do you see anybody else, Ms.
I see no other hands.
Okay.
Oh, Mr. Nicholas Ferreira, your digital hand is raised? No?
Sorry, yeah, no.
No problem. I see no other hands.
Okay, and any abstentions?
I also see no abstentions.
Okay, so that motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. All right, committees to report. And as I said, the time is going, so if you could be as brief as possible, I appreciate it. Thank you. Economic Development and Employee Committee, Mr. Bill Flanoy.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be very brief. I'll keep it within 2 minutes, hopefully. We had the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce meet, give a presentation. They have the New York City Small Business Resource Network. This is basically they sign up individuals, individual companies, then give them access to financial guidance, marketing expertise, technical support, legal counsel, and business coaching. So far, they've helped 1,127 businesses. They've actually given out 450,000 units of PPE. They've given out 16 recovery loans, and they've given out over $119,000 in recovery loans and over 1.1 million in other loans. To access them, it's a very simple form. It takes 10 seconds. You can access it at www.smallbiz.nyc. They're financed private public, and currently right now they work with over 230,000 small businesses in the 5 boroughs. They also mentioned currently right now that 35% of the stores that are closing are going to close permanently. So, and we also have a restaurant expert to help with restaurants recovery. We also had the Bklyn Women's Business Center actually also give a presentation. They also do resources, development, counseling. They also do business training. They do financial and legal lending advice. They do one-on-one, and they also do MWBE certification. They work with this SBA, the Small Business Development Center, and also the Veteran Business Centers. Their website is wbc@wbocnet.org. Now, this is the last part. It's important. They also have loan products. They have a short-term loan for between $500 to $5,000. Repayment is up to 1 year. They have term loans between $1,000 and $50,000. Repayment for that is 1 to 3 years. They have SBA Community Advantage loans, $50,000 to $250,000. Repayment for that is 7 years. They have green loans for obviously green companies between $1,000 and $75,000. Repayment for that is 1 to 7 years. They have interest-free HALA loans for Muslim organizations. That's between $1,000 to $25,000. That's the 1 to 3 years. And then they have an order-based loan that's $250,000 to $500,000. These for contracts that people actually have with the city that they actually need to have the money to actually get the contract. They have an Entrepreneur of Color Fund that just started up. That's $50,000, and that's for emergency working capital loans. They also have they have a Power Forward Black Business Conference that's on February 18th, and that's my report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Flanoy. Land Use Committee, Mr. Gordon.
All right, thank you. All right, yes, hello, everybody. We met and we approved 2 Landmark Preservation Commission applications for 176 Washington Park and 410, 412 Waverly Avenue. We also had a discussion on 227 Duffield Street, which was before the Landmark Preservation Commission for designation as an individual landmark. Some of you may know that was before the commission as a landmark because it was deemed a historic place for as a site for the Underground Railroad. And we voted to give our re-support. The board has previously supported the efforts to get 227 Duffield Street as a individual landmark. And about a week or 2 ago, the Landmark Preservation Commission approved 227 Duffield Street as an individual landmark. So that piece of the Underground Railroad will be existing in our community for a while. And we just requested that when the board has an opportunity, the board office could send a nice thank you letter to the Landmark Preservation Commission saying thanks for making a good decision and to support the history of the Underground Railroad in our community.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Gordon. Now we go with reports. We'll start with our elected representatives, our elected officials. Do we have a listing? Who's first?
Mr. Jordan, I have been scanning, and if I miss you, please message me in the chat panel. I do see Dan Wiley from Congresswoman Nydia Velasquez's office. Is he still with us?
Dan, are you still here?
We might have lost some folks. Is Greer Mayhew from State Senator Brian Kavanagh's office still here?
Yes, I'm here. Hello, everyone.
Thank you.
Hi.
Yes. Hello, I'm Greer Mayhew from Senator Brian Kavanagh's office. We do have some updates. I'm going to keep it brief. The first one is that this week, the state Senate passed 11 bills, a part of the fair housing package. The set of bills will work to combat housing discrimination throughout the state. Just for instance, one of the bills was the annual covert fair housing testing. So this piece of legislation requires the Attorney General to conduct annual covert fair housing testing to assess compliance with fair housing laws. And another one is mandating real estate brokers and salespersons to receive implicit bias training as part of their license renewal. Additionally, last year in March, the state senator introduced the COVID Emergency Rental Assistance Program as a bill. But now he has amended the bill to conform with the federal law now, advocating $1.3 billion of rental assistance to New York, including over $800 million coming directly to the state for tenants who have experienced hardship due to COVID-19. And another last update is that our office, in collaboration with Assemblymembers Dinowitz, Gottfried, and Simberwitz, in addition to Senator Rivera, urged the Department of Health to halt all untimely evictions of seniors in nursing homes. Our office believes that this particular population of individuals capture the intent of our new legislation and the interest of public health and safety, and are asking for proceedings to be stayed in alignment with the COVID Emergency Eviction and Foreclosure Prevention Act that was passed late last year. And that is all for my updates. Thank you, everyone, and have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
Mayhew. I believe the only representative we have from a state assembly member is Elavia Bello from Joanne Simon's office. If that's incorrect, please message me.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, Ms. Bello.
Hi, everybody. It's Elavia Bello. Thank you so much for having me tonight. I'm going to keep it super brief. I know that we're running a little bit behind schedule, but just wanted to say that Assemblymember Teimann is actually hosting a special education and mental health town hall tomorrow with CEC 13 and 15. So it's tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. I will post all the details in the chat. And they're going to be invited panelists who are going to be local education and mental health experts. And this really was brought about by some of the recent news that we've had surrounding schools and mental health. Also, she is sponsoring a Black History Month essay activity for middle schoolers. And we're asking students to share who or what in Black history inspires them for this activity. And lastly, she is having her Java with Joanne on February 18th, and I will post the details for RSVPing in the chat. Thank you so much, and talk to you guys soon.
Thank you, Ms. Bello.
Is Mr. Ed Cerna from the mayor's office still with us? Or did we might have missed him? Taeka Haraguchi from Comptroller Scott Stringer's office.
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Hi.
Hello. Hi, everyone. It's good to be back here tonight with Committee Board 2. I will also keep it very short and brief. So I announced this last meeting, but I just want to remind folks that the application for our paid summer internship program ends on March 5th. So I will be putting that link into the chat. Secondly, on Sunday, the Comptroller unveiled his food security plan to combat hunger in New York City. This plan offers immediate local, state, and federal recommendations to close gaps in emergency food programming. I will put the link to that report in the chat as well. And finally, a week ago, the Comptroller released his blueprint for strengthening public safety in New York City. It unveiled detailed proposals to transform public safety, protect New Yorkers from violence, and invest in communities. This report builds upon the foundation laid out by the Comptroller's June 2020 analysis of the PD budget during the height of the Black Lives Matter protest, which moved $1 billion over 4 years as a baseline. So in this particular blueprint proposal, it outlines how to reimagine public safety in 5 parts. Number 1, it outlines how the city can take a multi-agency public health focused approach to community safety, transitioning responsibilities away from the PD and investing alternative responses and services. So just in short, core to reimagining public safety is changing our 911 system. Part 2 addresses the near-term spike in crime with proactive strategies and community partners. Part 3 details how to improve discipline, transparency, and oversight of the PD. Part 4 is about ending the war on drugs, decriminalizing offenses that pose no risk to community safety and reforming parole. And part 5 speaks about the operational and managerial reform of the PD. So I will be dropping that link in the chat along with my email address. So if anybody has any questions about these reports, they can contact me. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mr. John Watkins from District Attorney Eric Gonzalez office.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Hello. As always, he's out in the community on most days, meeting and greeting, and assisting them with all of their needs. And just to update a bit, if you recall, the DA has been working on his Justice 2020 program for the past 2 years. We're happy to say that most of the features of that program, which involve more transparency of the agency and more communication with the community, has been fulfilled. And now Justice 2020 is sort of a bedrock and a foundation for moving forward into the future with the community, and especially for transparency, so that people in our community know what and how we're doing it. The work of the DA's office continues with alacrity as we move into the first part of the year. There have been already a number of important things that have occurred. There have been some large gun takedowns where illegal weapons have been taken off the street. And following up on that, just 2 weeks ago, DA Gonzalez, in coordination with New York Attorney General, has had a gun buyback program that just was successfully completed about 2 weeks ago, this coming Saturday. So that's something that we really take pride in working with our partners in law enforcement, including the Attorney General's office and the NYPD. Aside from that, please know that the DA's office has a number of community efforts that we continue on an ongoing basis. These include everything from immigration matters to domestic violence and so on. Please go to our website, which is brooklynda.org, and you'll find all of that information. Lastly, with this being Black History Month, the DA's office will be having a Black History virtual program that will be coming up on the 25th, and more information can be found on our website, and I will forward the details to the CB2 office so that they can post that. Thank you very much and have a good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Watkins.
And Ms. Nan Blackshear from the Brooklyn Borough President's office.
Thank you, Taya. Yes, good evening, Community Board 2. First, I'd like to thank the board office for sending out the reminder about the reapplication deadline. It is this Friday on February 12th. This also is the same deadline for new applications for those who are interested in becoming members of Community Board 2, appointed members of Community Board 2. Please go to our website, which is brooklyn-usa.org. If you wish to apply, just go to the drop down under community and you will be able to apply online. In terms of events, the borough president has partnered in terms of offering New York City free tax preparation and filing. An in-person drop-off by appointment only will be in the downtown Brooklyn area at Grow Brooklyn at the Flatbush Extension Prep Hub. This will be occurring February 3rd through May 13th. Tuesdays and Thursdays, 12 p.m. to 8 p.m., and Saturday through Sunday, 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. If you need more details, please go to our website. I will be presenting a link to that in the chat so that you can follow it. And also, I just need to not be remiss, since we were talking about public safety, that the borough president is extremely happy that the mayor had followed his recommendation that the community should play a part in terms of selecting their commanding officers on the precinct level. And so the precinct councils will now play a role in offering recommendations for selecting their commanding officers. And so the mayor had announced this, And the borough president was extremely happy to see that he has done that, but he feels more needs to be done. All I can say is hopefully this will happen going forward. Thank you, everybody, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Blackshear.
Mr. Jordan, we have representatives from at least 3 community organizations. We have
Do we have, I thought I saw the library, Brooklyn Public Library here.
Yes.
Is that what you meant?
Yes, Brooklyn Public Library, IMPAACT Brooklyn, and Fab Alliance are here.
Okay. Brooklyn Public Library?
Pat Savage, are you still with us?
I am. Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm so glad that everyone is here. Hello, Community Board 2. Yeah, a couple quick points. As people have pointed out, I'll be brief and simple, and I'll also drop some salient links in the chat. Each of my colleagues will also have some quick points to share as well, so you won't just hear my own voice. Long story short, Brooklyn Public Library is offering a limited grab-and-go service at 40 locations. All 4 locations in Community Board 2 are open for grab-and-go service. So that'll be the Annex, the Brooklyn Heights Library operating out of Center for Brooklyn History, Clinton Hill, and Walt Whitman Libraries. And services vary at locations, so check our website before you go. I'm also very excited. My location has set up a Black History in Dumbo program that will be next Thursday at 6 p.m. I'm very excited about this. I'll drop a link at the chat and check it out. And I'm turning it over to my colleague, Rachel, I believe.
Hello. Can everyone see and hear me? I'm going to keep it rather brief as well. I just wanted to share that Brooklyn Public Library is sponsoring the Ezra Jack Keats Essay Contest. After 34 years, New York City school children have participated in the Ezra Jack Keats bookmaking competition. It's a long-standing partnership between BPL, the New York City Department of Education, and the Ezra Jack Keats Foundation. Due to the pandemic, it was, of course, postponed, but there is an essay contest this year for grades 3 through 5. It's running through February 1st through March 15th. And the wonderful thing about it is that it encourages students to write about what matters to them this year, how they're dealing with the pandemic, their coping skills, their lack of socialization, questions about anti-racism. What are they seeing and feeling and experiencing right now? They get to write that out, and there are monetary awards for finalists. And again, it is February 1st through March 15th. Another thing that I wanted to share is a wonderful online resource that is happening, also very timely. BrainFuse Job Now is BPL's online resource designed to support every step of the job search process, featuring live online coaches who assist in resume and cover letter preparation and help patrons prepare for job interviews, providing help with resume templates, career assessment exams, and the live coaching is available from 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm going to drop details of that resource in the chat. Thank you. I'm going to hand it over to Tracey Mantrone.
And I promise I'll be quick. At this time, Brooklyn Public Library has suspended all fines for library materials. Anything checked out before March 1st of 2020 has been extended till March 15th of 2021. If you check out items during lobby service, for books, if they're overdue by 4 weeks, we bill you for replacement, but if you return them, your fees will go away and your account will be reactivated. With DVDs, if they're overdue by 2 weeks, same thing. You get billed, your account gets suspended, but once you return them, the fines and fees go away and your account will be reactivated. So this way you don't have to worry about getting any overdue fines if you can't get your items back to their locations. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank all of you.
Bernell Grier from IMPAACT Brooklyn.
And hello, everyone. I'm actually on listening into the community board in my capacity as a resident of the community board. So I've enjoyed listening all night. I am the executive director of IMPAACT Brooklyn, and if you check our website, you will know everything that we're doing. And so we continue with all of our programs and services. I'm not sure if everyone knows, but we were named as one of the inaugural members of the Robin Hood Foundation Power Fund, helping again to work, and it helps to support organizations that are run by Black and Indigenous people of color. So myself being one, and running IMPAACT now. So we've been a beneficiary of that, and more to come as we continue to serve the community at large. But I'm here again in my capacity as resident. That's why I purposely didn't put IMPAACT Brooklyn on. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Greer.
Sorry to put you on the spot, Ms. Greer. Christina Chavez from Fab Alliance, are you still with us? Mr. Jordan, that is it, unless I've missed anyone.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Thank you, Taya. Are there any other business to come before this board tonight before we go to open forum? And Mr. Quinn, I just want to mention I have a question for you. I'll send it to you via email.
Okay.
All right. Any other?
Yes.
Mr. Harrison?
Before you go to open business, Mr. Jordan, I had one request of you and the executive committee, and that is that we consider in these very stressful times, we need to have a district manager. We need to have that title associated with the community board when it does outreach. I am asking for the personnel committee and the executive committee to consider naming Ms. Carol Ann Church the acting district manager until we appoint a permanent district manager.
Okay, we'll take that under consideration, Mr. Dew. Certainly, we'll take that under consideration. Thank you. Mr. Harrison, you had a question?
No, I actually have two bits of information I just want to convey. I'm sure that our colleagues are likely aware of this, but for those who are not, it's two things that are available by dint of the fact that it's Black History Month. And I didn't hear where they were mentioned by Nan or our colleagues at the library, or anyone else, so I just felt I should mention it. One is a tour concerning the Underground Railway that's going to take place at Brooklyn Bridge Park on February 20th, which according to the calendar, from 11 until noon. And it looks like a great event. It meets at the park. It's in Monday's Metro. If anybody wants the details, I can give that to them later. The other thing supports the great work by this organization and by Mr. Gordon and Company. He mentioned it about 227 Duffield Street. And I'm sorry if someone's mentioned this, but again, I didn't hear it. It could have been mentioned in committee. I don't attend that many meetings, but LPC has come up with an interactive map, if you will, for Black History Month of 70 individualized landmarks in 3 historic districts that talks about the work of African Americans in this city based on location. And I think they rolled it out this Tuesday, but I'm not sure that's in today's Metro New York. So thank you so much.
Just to add, it was on television. I did see a mention of it, so it's being publicized now.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gordon and Mr. Harrison. Okay, we're going to go to open forum. Those members of the public, if you wish to speak, you have 2 minutes. Is there anybody, do we have a list or anything, Taya? Okay.
I'm here, Richard
Okay.
Morrow.
Mr. Morrow? Okay.
Yes.
You have 2 minutes, Mr. Morrow.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Richard Morrow, and I'm the Greater New York Red Cross Community Relations Ambassador for Community Board 2. Presently around the country, the Red Cross is helping in 46 disaster relief operations. 44 of those operations are along the East Coast, extending into the Great Plains. It's amazing to see the situation. I mean, tens of thousands of our neighbors in stress. And just in the last 7 days, the greater New York area, we provided assistance to 89 adults, 40 children, and participated in 35 local disaster responses. We have great programs, virtual programs on our website. We have one especially for kids. It's called the Pillow Program. You could hook up to it, or sign up for it, and your kids could sit there and join a group of kids doing this. That's really all I had to say about that. But if I may just bring up another point, put on another hat. What Nan was talking about, the community council, I was asked by the 8-4 precinct to talk about their community partners program throughout the whole city. And I'm sure a lot of you know about it, but they wanted, Nan mentioned it, that's where they're going to be deciding on what's happening. The community partners program is not the council, but this is how we get into working with the general public, gets in behind the blue wall, let's say, gets to know the people who are patrolling their streets. This program, basically 2 officers are assigned to.
Okay, Mr. Morrow.
Yes. Is it over?
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. At any rate, I'm going to put onto the chat officers you can contact about the community partners program. And I'm also a community partner in Dumbo, Sector Boy. And also the community council, how you can find out more about it. But I strongly suggest you participate. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to call on Pastor Zach. He had his hand up before, but we weren't able to hear him during the the board discussions. Pastor Zach, are you here? Okay, maybe he's not here anymore. Okay. Is anybody else? Any other hands up?
We had a request from Lisa
here.
Wolf.
I'm sorry.
I'm here. Sorry.
Oh, Pastor Zach,
Pastor Zach.
you had your hand up before, and during the board discussion, we couldn't call on you. So,
yeah, I'm here. So just a couple of general comments. Again, I'm raising these issues again as they've been addressed in different meetings, but just making sure we're aware again, precinct officers, particularly the 84th, that continue to park in bike lanes around the district. It's not being addressed. It's not being taken care of. I've put them on notice. I've gone to the precinct meeting. They're not dealing with it. It needs to be continued to deal with, particularly downtown. They just park wherever they want, cause public nuisance and danger to bikers and pedestrians by continuing to do that. Cadman Plaza exit off Brooklyn Bridge Boulevard needs a red light or a flashing red light and stringent enforcement. People with strollers, people with walkers are crossing the street there to cross when traffic is coming off Brooklyn Bridge Boulevard. I've put DOT on notice. I put Community Board 2 on notice. I put 88 Precinct on notice, 84th Precinct on notice. It just has to change. I've literally policed that corner as I run by multiple days a week, taking extra time my day to ensure that seniors can cross properly. And it just is, and I've told officers and they refuse my insights to actually do their job in policing to make sure that public safety is an issue there. Want to make sure social media is actually something that the community board actually considers, whether it's an Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Every other community board that I'm interacting with has it now. I'm concerned as to why this community board doesn't. And then just to let you know, my organization, in partnership with Recovery House of Worship, is working towards becoming a vaccine location, particularly emphasizing homeless individuals who would not have access to the vaccine otherwise. Also providing a pop-up ID NYC location, as the current location is not a safe place for homeless individuals as they're forced to do massive drop-off of all their stuff. It's been getting patted down by police by entering the location. And we're also looking for volunteers to do free tax prep because the tax prep right now is all virtual. Many of the individuals that we serve don't have access to the internet at home. They come to our facility and looking for volunteers who are willing in a physically distanced, safe way to provide free tax prep to folks in the community that don't have access to those resources. So I'll leave my information in the chat. But those are just my comments for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Zach.
Mr.
Any other?
Chair?
Well, let me
I have a
just see if there's anybody else in the open forum that wants to speak, Mr. Harrison. Anybody else? Can you see anybody?
I had one request earlier from Lisa Wolf, but I believe she has left the call.
Okay. Ms. Wolf is not here. Okay.
And that was it.
Okay. Couple of comments, and then I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn. All right. Mr. Harrison, and then Mr. Flournoy.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask Pastor Zach a question, and that's where's the location?
Okay.
I'm right here. I'm still here. Sorry, it just takes me a second. I'm on my phone. We're at 360 Skemmerhorn downtown.
Okay, so that's between what and what, Pastor Zach?
It's between 3rd and Nevins.
Okay, because so the people you're looking to do the tax prep work are volunteers or
The people that we're looking to help us do the tax prep are volunteers. The people that we service are homeless individuals or people in transitional facilities or assisted living facilities.
You're looking for volunteers to help homeless individuals file taxes.
File taxes, correct.
Because I may know of someone who could assist who is very close to your location. However,
Okay. Yeah. Mr. Harrison. Yeah.
You have my information.
Mr. Zach gave his information. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Mr. Flournoy, and then Mr. Dew.
And then Mr. Dew, I'll finish
Okay,
out.
thank you, Mr. Dew. I can take it from here. Okay. Currently, right now, there's a lot of information that was given at by committee, and that information can be found either by watching it on YouTube or checking the public drive. There are a lot of information as far as loans are concerned, and also workshops that are open to the public. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Dew, final word.
Finally, I again ask the Community Board's Executive Committee to consider the formation of a COVID committee because we have to receive 80% herd immunity before we can begin to talk about a normal operation, whatever that new normal is. The Community Board will have to have a major role in outreach to the community in order for us to get vaccinations and everything else that continues to impact the community versus COVID. We don't actually have a defined role. I'm asking the Executive Committee to consider what role the Community Board should play in this COVID environment. That's it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Dew. It's duly noted. Thank you all for attending. This is one of the shortest meetings that we've had in Community Board 2. And of course, but I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Okay. Thank you all. Get home safe, everybody. Okay. Be safe.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Good night, everybody.
Okay. Good night.